Well, hello there, and welcome to a special report brought to you by the AGA Network, America's Greatest Awakening. My name is Rob Coburn, and I am here with a special guest, Curtis Gehring, and we are here to discuss what we believe is a monumental piece of legislation that is going through Congress right now, and we wanted to shine some light on it and explain a little bit about the Equality Act. So, Curtis, can you share with us a little bit of the background foundation of the Equality Act?
Sure. Rob, this act has been introduced in Congress several times. It passed for the first time in 2019. And the idea behind this act is to incorporate, if you will, protections for gender. Well, it's to amend the Civil Rights Act, and it's going to incorporate into that act gender identity and sexual orientation and make those protected classes that essentially can't be discriminated against.
And so there is, as you said there, this has been a bill that's been on before. It is amending the Civil Rights Act of 1964, if I remember correctly.
That is correct.
And this bill was actually passed in some form. I think some of it's been modified now, but it was passed in 2019.
It passed for the first time in 2019. That's right.
And that went through the House, but it got stopped, didn't it?
It did get stopped. The Republicans controlled the Senate at that time. Okay. And the Majority Leader, McConnell, did not bring it up for a vote. So it just kind of died there.
So the importance of this act being brought back up is because now the Democrats control the houses. And so they're bringing this back up so that we would so that it could be voted on and they control the houses. Correct?
Yeah, they control all three phases of government. So branches of government. So this will more than likely, or it's expected to pass the House. Last time in 2019, there were 8 Republicans that voted for it, 173 that voted against it. So it passed by 63 votes. It probably will be closer this time because obviously the Republicans had a good year last year as far as the difference between Republicans and Democrats in the House is only 10 seats.
Right. And so just to bring you all, tap into your memory a little bit, this bill, when it passed the House, is when the White House was lit up with all the rainbow of colors.
There will be a huge push. On its face, nobody wants discrimination. I mean, that's ugly. Right. It's, believers, non-believers, nobody wants. So when you hear the bill without digging into it, it does sound good. So they will, of course, focus on the positive aspects of this rule, and there'll be a big as it moves to the other chamber. There will be a big media it'll be a big PR event for those groups that are in favor of it by the presidency, who's already said he'd sign it. So
this was a part of the 100-day. The goal for the 100 days, first 100 days in office.
It absolutely was, yes.
Mm-hmm. And so this bill, let's dig into a little bit about the protections and the unintended consequences of this bill. And so it will affect every person watching this. Mm-hmm. If this bill becomes federal law, it will affect every single one of you. And just so you're aware, there are states that are trying to stop Title IX things and sports, and they're already passing laws, but this would supersede that.
Yes, you cannot supersede federal law. So I think Mississippi, Connecticut, they're all voting, or at least this is in their state houses. This will supersede it, yes.
Okay, and what would tell me some of the protections and tell me some of the unintended consequences.
Well, the intended consequences, of course, have to do with discrimination. So just a good phrase in the area of employment, Rob, but for the fact that I am blank, I was let go, not hired or promoted. So you can fill in your blank with any of those protected classes. If they can prove that was the reason they weren't hired, they have a case with the E.E.O.C. and, there's huge fines to go along with that. So that, we're all against discrimination. The unintended consequences have to do with, you mentioned sports, Title IX sports. The law would state that you would not have to participate we couldn't discriminate against folks by their biological gender, they would be able to participate in sports by how they identify. And so you would have biological men in high school sports or any sports, K through 12, college, being able to participate based on how they identify. In how they identify and how, the sexual or gender identification would lead into your schools, your churches. I mean, you couldn't discriminate here and not let somebody identified as a woman use the ladies' restroom. And this can go on to women's shelters where that you need those safe places for women. So this would go, all the breadth and depth is very deep, expensive.
Right, and so just a quote from President Biden: "The Equality Act provides long overdue federal civil rights protections for LGBTQ plus Americans, preventing discrimination in our housing, education, public services, lending systems, and I urge Congress to swiftly pass this legislation."
And who could be against that?
Yeah, who can be against that statement? Yeah. It's the non-protection of people that concerns me.
Yeah, and the Equality Act mentions the freedom of protection that Clinton signed. President Clinton, a Democrat president, and the Republican Congress, it specifically mentions that, and it says that that act gives you no protections.
So currently, that act that's in effect protects religious organizations from this.
Theoretically,
it does. Yes, yeah. And of course, the courts decide all that. Yeah. But this new Equality Act that's going to, it mentions that act in it,
specifically,
and it says you will have no religious protection from this new act, and it directly addresses that. And so that is concerning for religious institutions. It's concerning for employers of any kind, because now they can put anything in that blank that you just read, and say that they are being discriminated against.
Right.
So, what is the portrayal of this bill? So, obviously, if it passes the House by a narrower margin than last time, and it changes to the Senate, and there'll be debate, and they'll talk about it, the media. Many of the people that support this bill are going to be loud, I'm sure, and be pushing this agenda. And I really want to clarify so that everybody that watches the mainstream media, watches different types of media, that they can categorize how it's being portrayed, because maybe not everybody's read the bill. And we have to be careful how we hear what is being portrayed. We have to know the truth behind it. And so how is this bill going to be portrayed to the world?
I can tell you that I've read two major media sites just this morning before I came here, just for research, I guess. And, of course, it was portrayed positively. We would expect that from the media. But the one case in point, one of the major news networks in our country interviewed 5 people. You think, nice comprehensive interview, right? All 5 people were from the gay and lesbian community. No other voices in that, and of course the platitudes were good. So how this is being portrayed by the media, you'd expect in our country, it tilts to the left, but there are other voices that are sounding the alarm. And just to mention one, the Catholic League mentioned the Equality Act is the most comprehensive assault on religious liberty. The right to life and privacy rights ever packaged into one bill in the history of the United States. So there are voices out there, but of course they don't have the prominence that our major news networks do. But there are definitely people. There's another side to this story.
And so the side that you're going to be hearing, that we're all going to be hearing from our main news sources in America are, this is all positive. Look the other way. You don't even need to research this because it's the right thing to do, because you can't argue with the discrimination piece. But there's a problem in the actual part of the bill, because you're redefining what sex discrimination is, and then your this measure would provide for abortion on demand and publicly paid abortions and all of those things that go along with it. These are far-reaching consequences in this bill, not just don't look the other way because we've got this good thing happening.
Yeah, if you remember 2019, it wasn't just the PR campaign; it was a celebration. We can't get disheartened. Like I said, it's expected to pass the House, so there will be a big celebration. It will make it look, those that oppose it may find themselves in uncomfortable situations. But again, there is the unintended consequences, or maybe they're intended. I don't even know if you can call them intended or unintended. But if you have young ladies, I have 3 daughters. If participating in high school sports, going off to college. And the other thing that I think is worrisome to me is the parental rights, the loss of parental rights. We are in a society that is looking to normalize gender identity and sexual orientation. In normalizing, there is the loss of parental rights being done. So I gave an example, or I'll give an example here real quick of a family that had someone, their child was dealing with gender dysphoria, and they were religious and did not want to go through with the treatments. Protective services were called. They were discriminating against their child's sexual identity, and so they actually lost parental custody. And those cases can only increase.
So in this Equality Act that we're talking about, disagreement could be considered discrimination. The courts would define what that really is as it goes forward, but it includes gay marriage, biological males competing in women's sports events, doctors performing procedures like gender reassignment surgeries that go against lots of things.
Yes, absolutely. If you are a physician that performs mastectomies, for example, that if there was someone identified, a man identified as or a woman identified as a man, you would be probably discriminating if you didn't go through with the procedure. So you look at medical school, sports. It really is pretty expansive.
And we're seeing states pass laws to try to stop this, as we said in the beginning. Mm-hmm. We're seeing states trying to go ahead of this law, but that may be all to naught if this federal law would pass, because it would supersede the state laws, and I'm sure that the legal system would fight. There would be a battle. There's going to be a battle either way, and I think that the reason why we're doing this special report for you today is we want you to be educated. When the founders founded this country, they said that this republic was founded upon a moral, educated electorate.
Yeah.
An active electorate. And so now it's time for us to continue to base our decisions on morality. We're also supposed to then have some form of education on the topics, which is why we're doing this episode. And then we're supposed to be active and stand for what we believe. And there'll be people standing that believe that this bill is the best thing that's ever happened in America, and there'll be people standing against it. Our call today is to this conversation today is to activate you to go connect with people and do your research. Number one, be educated, and then go forth and make sure that we have a voice. And I know that in this hour, sometimes we think that our voice isn't too loud. Maybe we only influence a few people. But I'm encouraging you today: do your research on this bill. Do the behind the scenes. Don't just listen to the surface stuff. Do your research. Know what the intended consequences and unintended consequences are for the Equality Act, and then make your decision on where you stand on that bill, and then take that decision and become active with it, even if you only influence a few amount of people.
Yeah, because the other side is already out there, and they've already made if you're for this, there are groups that have already had their email list and just put your name here and send on. So the other side is active. We need to do our part, and you're right. We need an informed electorate.
Yeah, we need an informed electorate, and that's what we're trying to do to awaken this in you. It will take 60 votes. Let's not go to assume that it's going to pass the House, but to meet cloture, it'd have to have 60 votes. Mm-hmm. We have one senator that has said on the Democrat side that said that he would probably vote against this bill. But we also have some Republicans that would probably vote for this bill.
It'll probably get over 50 senators to vote for it.
Okay, so they'll probably be over 50, but probably at this point not 60. But the way that we can ensure that, everybody, is it's interesting in different things that I've done in Columbus, talking with representatives and senators, is that they listen to loud voices. Mm-hmm. And the lobbyists are loud and they have lots of money. But we are loud if we unite our voices together and express a concern to our elected officials, because many of them are doing amazing work, whether it be in the state house or in DC. They're doing amazing work. They're standing on truth. They're fighting for our rights here in America. But they sometimes they all the time need people that believe in them, that trust them, that support them and say, we're going to hold you to a standard. And so with this Equality Act that is going through Congress, we're asking you today, your call to action today is to connect with your senators and representatives in Washington, and to voice your opinion, to be civil, to not relent, and to continue to connect with your elected official. They are elected to represent us. They aren't there to run their own agenda. They're there to listen to their constituents and vote accordingly.
Yeah, and you said continue, and I think that's the important thing too. This seems to happen. It was introduced in 2019. It of course, didn't go through into law, and then we kind of sleep on it, and then all of a sudden it comes up again. And again, I've mentioned this act has been, I think, introduced into Congress since the 1960s, if I'm not mistaken. So this bill, even if it doesn't pass, will come up again. So continuance. I mean,
they're consistent.
Yeah,
they're pushing this agenda, and they're consistent. We need to be just as consistent in connecting with our representatives. I heard a quote from a local politician one time that said, "The day that you lose an election is the first day of your next election." And we cannot sleep as people. We cannot just be frustrated as people. We have to be active and educated and stand on truth and morals. And so I encourage you, wherever you are in the United States watching this, to get the number. You have the number for the switchboard in DC, but get the number of your representative and your senators, and please call them and say, we don't stand for this kind of discrimination, reverse discrimination.
Absolutely. Now, if you can call the government switchboard, and that I'll give you this number. Even if you don't know your elected official, that is okay. They will connect you. Just tell them where you're from. The number is 202-224-3121. And again, just tell them where you're from, and they will connect you to your congressmen and senators. And
we're broadcasting from the great state of Ohio today. And so we have two senators in Ohio that I would encourage any Ohioan to reach out to, and that is Sherrod Brown. You can reach him at www.brown.senate.gov, and Rob Portman, and that would be www.portman.senate.gov, or you can call the switchboard and you can get connected with them as well. So whether you're in Ohio or anywhere else in the country, please take this moment to stand. Take this moment to stand in this hour. And anything else you want to add to the topic?
No, I think you've covered it well. We need to, the points you made, we need to continue, not just sleep on it and get all fired up once these events happen. Stay informed and connect with your senators and congressmen. I mean, that is so important. A lot of times the most active side wins.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, This was to help you understand what the Equality Act is. I hope that we accomplished that for our viewers. But we also want you to stay connected and updated with the AGA network. And these updates and issues pertaining to America's awakening and the things that we believe are important for you to understand and important for you to be educated on and active, you can tune into the AGA network. Now, you may say, where can I find this? I'm watching this on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram or wherever. You can find us just by going to the App Store, type in America's Greatest Awakening. You'll see the AGA app. You can download it and access us outside of all the other media sources and just be connected with everything that's going on here at the America's Greatest Awakening Network. We want to thank you for joining us. On behalf of Curtis Gehring and Rob Coburn, we want to say thank you. Be educated and get active and understand what these bills are and become active in your area. Have a great day.